Sharma, and I am at one of the most iconic jewelry stores in the country. This is in Jaipur. This is the Gem Palace, and joining me from the Gem Palace, the person who is in charge, who's running the show for the last several years, is Samarth Kasiwal. Thank you very much, Samarth. And
Thank you, sir.
it's a privilege for me because the legacy of more than 170 years, and the family and its association with making jewelry goes back, I think, maybe 300 years ago as well. 1700s is when the royal courts decided to bring your family into the business of making jewelry for the royal family. Just tell me in brief. I know the legacy is something that the entire country is proud of, and you are proud of as well. But if you could just, in a synopsis, share with me how this legacy has been brought to the position that it is in today.
Hi, Megha. Thank you so much. So, this family business now currently is run by me, my cousins, and then I have my uncles as well who are involved. But our family was initially invited in 1727 by Maharaja Jai Singh. And his concept of this city of Jaipur was to create the city of art and culture. And when you have people from all walks of life, all sorts of different arts coming into a city, it becomes this creative sort of city. So in 1727, we were invited here. And ever since then, our family has historically been doing jewelry. Gem Palace itself was established in 1852. And that makes me the 5th generation in a family of jewelers. And I'm extremely proud. People who work with us are also generationally been working with us. So someone who's working with me now has his grandfather who's worked with my grandfather. So it's quite an incredible legacy to be a part of. And, it's something we really take great pride on.
You have worked with your father, your grandfather. What is the learning that you have taken forward? You, your cousins, your family members who now run the business.
So, one of the most important thing which I think is true to me and my family, is my brother and all of us, is appreciating the beauty in doing work with hand and just creating the pieces where you really, it's called labor of love, doing things with so much love and, just really focusing on the inner details of pieces. That is one thing which we've learned from our ancestors. And that is exactly what the Maharajas would love in the past. If someone would bring them a piece of art of any sort, and they would just be like pretty on one end, but they're not focusing on the edges or the corners or the back, they would be disappointed and they would be like, you know what, I don't like it. But that was the mentality my ancestors had, where they were like, you know what, when we are creating a piece, we're going to make it beautiful from all the sides. So that is really what we enjoy doing now. That's, I feel, is a great backbone or like a great mentality to learn from, and kind of, something what I've taken from my...
Talk to us about your clientele. It's not just, domestic consumers who come and buy jewelry from you. You have stores all across the globe. You send out a lot of your exports as well at time to time. What are your clientele's demands, and have you become more contemporary as years have passed by?
Yes, we have. We have an entire collection which is very contemporary, which is very something even on a beach could wear. But at the same time, what we love doing in that is take the Mughal or old Rajput aesthetics in that. And our inspiration comes from the past, and the workmanship is still inspired by the intricate work of the past. Yet we are trying to create something which everyone can relate to, and even future generations can relate to. Something my father used to say, which my brother Siddharth has told me, is that simplicity is for eternity. And if something you make which is pretty and simple at the same time is going to live forever. And that's why you take inspiration from things like nature, you take inspiration from the architecture you've grown up around. And yes, that's how the design language and the aesthetics come in. And people love that. I feel there's a loss of that in the world. People are just going for geometric shapes, and they're going for like very straightforward, here is an emerald, here is a earring. And we don't think jewelry is that. Jewelry should be an experience when someone's wearing it. It should be an experience when they're holding the piece in the hand. They should feel, wow, like what is this piece? Like how much thinking has actually gone behind making it. So that's what really thrills us.
Okay, now, of course, the idea of me visiting Jaipur today was the fact that the Vice President of America, JD Vance, is in Jaipur. So, the global attention is over here in your city.
Yeah.
And like you said, there are a number of tourists, international tourists, and particularly Americans who flock Jaipur on a regular basis because it's a major tourist destination. What is the interest of American tourists who come to you? Is it traditional jewelry that they enjoy more, or do you custom make jewelry for their requirements?
It's a bit of both. One thing I absolutely appreciate about the American tourists who walk into our doors is they love the art side of jewelry. I feel there is a lot of thinking when it goes to like how I'd say modern contemporary buying of jewelry in India. It's either about it should look big, or it should be about what's the value, how much is the emerald and stuff like that, which is something I don't usually see with Americans. Americans are a lot about, wow, that's some real artistry you've put into this work. I love it. And that's what really gives us the thrill, as I had said initially. So when they walk in through the door, they would appreciate traditional artwork, they would appreciate contemporary artwork, they would appreciate all sorts of artwork. I mean, jewelry is that they look at it at a different view. They would own this piece and think of it in a great way like that, and they relate it to their experience of being in Jaipur, which is a magical city in itself. So
absolutely. Okay, and talking about how this current tariff situation is across the globe, and India is no exception in getting impacted by it. How does the jewelry industry get impacted by it, and has that impacted your trade with your American customers?
yes, definitely, because as we were talking earlier, I was mentioning that this is the tail end of our season. I mean, it's almost the end of our season, the tourist season being when the cooler months are, the winter season. And, this is the time when you're actually focusing on exports and buying more gold and creating more things. Because of this global fluctuation with, this uncertainty as to what's going to happen, the gold prices have skyrocketed. And I know it's part of the raw material, but it really, when in the months when you are not looking at local business, like people walking through your doors, rather you sending your jewelry out, it really causes an issue when you're buying such expensive gold. So definitely it's impacted, and I know there's a 90-day pause going on, which is not a full-time solution. There needs to be negotiations, and it needs to be sorted. One of the largest exports India does is of diamonds, of colored stones, of gold jewelry, and it has impacted in a very big way. I mean, more than us, it's definitely from the artisans, because they would before buy gold in hand, and then they would create pieces, and that was their way of selling. Now they're not purchasing gold. They're really relying on orders. And the orders have reduced because the tariffs in America were so high, and people are like a bit unsure about what's going on. It's really, shaken things up, which is definitely not a nice thing to be a part of, but, it is what's...
How hopeful are you negotiated between India and United States of America that it is going to be a balanced deal that is going to be mutually beneficial for both countries, and particularly when it comes to the gem industry, the jewelry industry?
See, definitely there needs to be a deal. I understand President Trump's mentality towards how there's unfairness in the trade, but the deal has to be done because the equilibrium is only hit when the whole world feels that there is a benefit going on in bilateral trade. Definitely gems and jewelry industry, America is a huge market for us. Not just for me, I feel a lot of the end products end up flying in America. So we would want the deal, but never to have India on the losing end. I totally believe in Prime Minister Modi doing a great job making sure that it is not an unfair deal of any sorts. The best we can do is hope and wait, Right now is the time to kind of look inwards, look at the local economies, how we can strengthen it, how the local clientele can be boomed a little bit, because after a while you have to be careful of the outside world. If something goes wrong there, India as a single economy should also be self-sustainable, and I think this is a good time to kind of review that. Mm-hmm. I think India itself should be having a good market of its own and not just rely on American exports or European exports.
Interesting. Also, are you also exploring other markets across the globe that could be potential customers for your product?
Absolutely, we have for many years. The whole world is like a big market for us, and people are, as I said, you don't necessarily need to be an American to appreciate art. Like, we have Indian clientele who are absolutely in love with what was old and beautiful, what is new and interesting and creative. And just like that, there are clients in Japan and Europe who think the same way. But I think a globalized economy is something which we've all reaped benefits of, and I think we should not discard that. And I know he's very inward looking, and after a while, it's kind of understandable sitting on the outside why he is. But a globalized economy is why America has reaped so much of benefits. Today, it's a multi-trillion economy, and that basically stems from its globalization. So let's not forget the roots. But at the same time, I understand it's all negotiation, art of the deal, whatever Trump says.
You also have our Chief Minister of Rajasthan, Bhajan Lal Sharma, who will be meeting him later in the day. There's the Industries and Commerce Minister, Rajavardhan Rathore, who's also going to be meeting him. You have the governor. What do you think? What conversations might happen? Would trade be a topic of discussion?
I think trade is going to be a huge part of discussion. Now, Vice President JD Vance is hugely involved in all those discussions and negotiations with different countries. So he is an important figure. I don't think Donald Trump has been here for a while since his last visit to Gujarat a little while back. So I think this will be an important moment for them to kind of bring up their concerns, how industry here is being affected and how that is important. I feel it's a good thing that he's here so he can see how the local economy functions. Jaipur itself is a very international economy. A lot of the things produced here go all around the world. A lot of it goes to America as well. It's good for JD Vance to come and see that how certain decisions can really harm day-to-day lives of people living here. And it's good to see it firsthand because sitting in America, it's really tough to imagine what goes on here. So definitely if they can bring those points up and explain how the industries work here. And I feel that's going to be an important part of their discussion today.
Okay, thanks Amit for talking to me and sharing your legacy, your experience of how the groundbreaking work that you've done and also to talk about how the gem industry, the jewelry industry is one of the pillars of India's exports to the world and particularly America.
Thank you so much. Pleasure seeing you here.